what ends up being like the final painting or the final piece. There was two parts to that question. I know I got part of it. What was the rest?
Kind of versus how open to, I know some people are very like, I want people to get this from this image, and I know other people are a little like, you know, I'd like to know what people interpret when they see this or what they're thinking. Where are you on that?
Yeah, I think it's fine art. Like, I try to make fine art, like the paintings and things like that, to where it's important what the other person brings to the situation. Like, the painting is only half of it. So I feel like I can portray that idea, concept, or theme, or, you know, just whatever it is I'm trying to say in that piece, but it's missing the element of the interaction of the other person, which is, it's kind of obvious, but that's important to the painting. Like, not just one person's idea, but everybody's individual, you know, reaction to it. Like, that creates a whole new conversation each time someone, you know, comes into contact with something like that, with an image. But in illustration, like, we had talked about the Coheed and Cambria work before we talked here with the class, but that was a totally different scene. Like, you know, I explained to the manager that, you know, I'm a painter, but I can try my best to work like as an artist with another artist to achieve their vision. Because for doing commission work, that's what I get paid for. Like, you know, sometimes someone will say, hey, I got this idea, or can you listen to this song and make a painting out of it? Or, you know, I want specifically this thing and this thing, but I want it to look like you did it. And sometimes they're really good ideas and I can get into it. Or sometimes they're just like, hey, I'm going to throw this huge check at you. What do you think about this idea? And I'll be like, that's not a bad idea. That's a nice check. I'll take that. So with the Coheed and Cambria works, it was a little bit of both. It was more about Claudio's vision and his ideas and just my interpretation of it to whatever extent agreed with him. So I got what I got out of it, and then I would send him sketches. Like, we would do sometimes 12 or 20 sketches for one scene until he was like, oh yeah, I like this part of it, this part of it, and this part of it, and then put those together, and that's our painting. You know, I'll do that painting. Other times he would share the idea or send a part of the song over, and I would do a drawing. He was like, that's it. That's exactly what I want. Don't do anything else. Just do that. And we do that painting. So it's a spectrum of, you know, anything that can happen will. And even such a defined environment like working with, you know, Claudio and his manager and what we were supposed to accomplish within a 2 to 3 month time period, you know, anything can happen. So again, like, patience, just like with the big painting, like patience and the ability to be flexible to the best idea, or the best idea within whatever time frame, was always going to win.
And you brought up the Coheed paintings. I was going to ask about them too, and you covered most of what I was going to ask, but I was going to say, was it important for you not just obviously to like speak with Claudio about the concepts and the storyline, but also was it important for you to hear the music as it was coming out? Like, was it easier for you to kind of get your head around each painting mood-wise by like listening to the songs?
You know, I asked for that. Like, I asked for the music up front because other bands I worked with, or people that wanted me to interpret their music for whatever reason, it seemed to be really important to immerse yourself in the music and the sonic part of it before even getting to the concept. But they just hadn't made the album. So when we started, they hadn't even gotten into the studio. So I was talking to Claudio, and he would be sitting down, and if you've ever like seen an interview with him or been around him, he's got this amazing like positive energy, and like anything that can happen will happen. And you know, it's just really, it was really inspiring, man. The guy is super cool. And so we would sit down and talk about it, but I would mostly listen. Like, okay, Claudio would do most of the talking, and I would do all of the drawing. And so he would just like go on and on about whatever the concept of one song was, or what it was really going to be about. And I would never have heard the music or even know what the title was. So I would just be drawing off of whatever the story was he was telling, or the characters that were going to be in whatever the scene was. So it was, It was just really interesting, man. It was fun.
So when you finally did hear the music and then see like, oh well, this painting that I did kind of goes with this, did it make sense to you? Was it like, did you feel like, yeah, this image kind of captures, what's going on here?
Man, I wish I had a whole year to work on this entire project. Honestly, I don't think like Claudio was happy with it. He was super stoked. So whenever he was happy with it, we moved forward. And being that we had a short time frame to accomplish anything, I mean, it felt amazing, but it was also, a realization of like, what do I, how much time do I have, and how much can we do? So I think he was really realistic about it, but honestly, I don't think I did enough for it. I really feel like I could have done a much larger piece and put so much more into it and had these awesome little dramas and these, created these operatic scenes for each one of these songs. And when I heard it, I could see it a little better, but we just didn't have time to expand it into something, cinematic, anything more than, hopefully we did in some of them. And I enjoyed all of them, but, I think I could have done so much more.
Your work is really refined and detailed. How do you find ways to meet those deadlines and those time constraints and still get the visual effect and result that you really want?
Yeah, deadlines. I mean, it just has to get done. It's just, I just don't accept that it's not going to happen. I guess that's the way it happens because, you're going to have all-nighters. You're going to lose sleep. You're going to not eat. You're going to miss going to the gym. I mean, like, stuff is not going to happen. And in order to even accomplish some of the things that you're going to be given, I think as an artist, you just have to accept that that's the only thing that exists right now, and there's no other option. And until it's finished, you don't get any of those rewards. You don't get, you get some rewards to get you through, but you don't get like whatever you set yourself up to have at the end until, you're doing, a lot of times that's a paycheck, and a lot of times it's, free time again, or just time to sleep and relax and recharge until hopefully the next thing comes through. So I hope I answered that. I think the answer is you don't accept that it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. I mean, whether you're getting paid to do it or not, you have to just do whatever it is you want to accomplish. And that's kind of the way I've looked at everything, regardless, work or personal. It's just something that I felt strongly about, and that's the way it's going to, that's what I'm going for.
Well, speaking of workload, when you've got stuff coming in and say you've already got, a pretty full docket, do you find yourself just taking any job you can, or are there certain things where, like, have you had to turn down things for time reasons that you wish you would have done, or are there things that you wish you had turned down because of time? Like, how has that kind of affected you?
I think right now I'll accept anything that sounds really cool, but I'll be extremely realistic with whoever it is and say, like, here's what I'm working on. This is when I have to finish it. Just so you know, this is what's going on while we're trying to work on this thing. I'll have Tuesday from 2 to 4. We can talk about it. And then after that, I have to be back at my studio at 5 to work on this other project. And until that's finished, you don't get my full attention. Or unless someone's willing to pay you whatever the full price is that you feel like your time is worth, they don't really, they haven't earned all of your attention, at that point. What was the question again?
Well, I mean, that was pretty much it, but also particulars, like, has there ever been something that you turned down that you wish you hadn't, or is there anything that you kind of wish you had turned down, either for time constraints or just because you didn't really like the project?
Oh, no, I turn down stuff all the time, and you're going to have to, you have to turn down stuff, and stuff that's really important to someone else isn't really always important to me, and that's what I had to realize. Instead of taking everything and saying yes to whatever happened, it has to fit into what I want to accomplish, like, creatively. And so if it's taking time away from something important, then I can't do it. But if it's adding to, like, the greater value of whatever it is that I'm doing or want to do, then it's totally worth doing. Absolutely.